All right, welcome leaders and decision makers. Look, if you're tired of all that corporate jargon and abstract theory that frankly doesn't actually move the needle, well, you are in exactly the right place. In today's explainer, we're going to completely cut through the noise. We are building a concrete, actionable roadmap for real accountability and consistently high delivery. Basically, we're looking at what separates the teams that just talk about results from the teams that actually achieve them. Okay, let's dive into this. We are transforming some complex business concepts into a super clear 5-step architecture for high performance. 1. Fundações, dealing with mindset and ownership. 2. Estratégia, the North Star. 3. Cultura, putting people first. 4. Execução, focusing on high delivery. And 5. O futuro, covering data and adaptation.
So, step 1. Fundações, mindset and ownership. Let's lay the groundwork.
Look, you simply cannot demand high delivery if your team's underlying mental model is fundamentally flawed. Execution doesn't start in a spreadsheet, right? It starts in the mind. On the left here, a fixed mindset believes you either have it or you don't. It shies away from the hard stuff. But on the right, a growth mindset thrives on the idea that capabilities are built over time. You put in the effort, you learn from failure. And here's the reality for today's leaders. Technical skills age incredibly fast. What you knew 3 years ago might already be obsolete. But a growth mindset, that's the engine that keeps you and your team relevant in absolutely any scenario.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is that true ownership isn't about equity or shares. It's a posture. It means that nobody on your team ever utters the words, "Well, that's not my job." It is the total end of outsourcing blame. When a problem pops up, an owner steps up, they anticipate the need, and they act, completely regardless of where they sit on the org chart.
A diferença entre funcionário e profissional de alto impacto é uma só: ownership. The only difference between a regular employee and a high-impact professional is ownership. So let me ask you directly, are you acting like an owner or are you acting like a renter in your own career? Because renters just pass through, but owners take care of the house. Let that sink in for a second.
And that naturally brings us to accountability. Listen, accountability isn't just ticking off a little checklist of tasks. It's carrying the real responsibility for the final outcome. It's the absolute maturity that separates mediocre teams from high-performance ones. Building this kind of culture requires incredibly clear goals and, frankly, courageous conversations. It means completely replacing that defensive corporate culture, the one of always justifying why something failed, with a proactive commitment to simply getting it done.
Moving right along to phase 2. Estratégia, o norte do negócio, the North Star of your business.
Once your foundation is locked in, you've got to know exactly where to direct your team's energy. Because an engaged team running in the wrong direction is kind of just efficiently getting lost, right? So here are your strategic pillars. Your core business is what actually generates value. If it's not core, eliminate it or outsource it. Your go-to-market is exactly how you reach your ideal client. Your market share is your reality check against competitors, and your positioning, that's the real estate you own in your customer's mind. Grouping these together shows a simple truth. Having a clear direction prevents your team from doing 20 things poorly, so they can do one thing with absolute excellence.
This right here is a harsh reality check. If the client doesn't understand in 10 seconds why to choose you, you've lost the sale. Your value proposition needs to be razor sharp. If it takes you a 5-minute monologue to explain why someone should work with you, it's over. You've already lost. Your proposition must focus entirely on the transformation the client receives, not just a laundry list of your product's features.
Let's move to and see how this builds into a cohesive funnel. You start with awareness, getting on their radar. Then you generate a lead. But remember, leads need nurturing. Then comes conversion, turning that interest into real action. And finally, you manage a disciplined pipeline. Throwing a heavy sales proposal at a completely cold lead, that doesn't win business. It literally just burns a potential relationship. It has to be a structured journey.
Okay, so we've got the mindset and we have the strategy. But here's a provocative question for you. Your team might be highly engaged and super happy, but are they actually delivering results? This is the crucial bridge between having a great strategy on paper and the actual human engine required to execute it.
Which brings us to Section 3, Cultura, pessoas em primeiro lugar, people first.
Because here's the thing, companies do not deliver results. Human beings do. Spreadsheets don't ship products. Human beings do. A bad employee experience yields high turnover and terrible customer service. But an excellent employee experience? That creates an organic magnet for top talent and wildly creative teams. The fundamental law here is that the exact experience you offer internally to your team is exactly the experience your customer will receive externally. You cannot fake a great customer experience with a miserable team. It just doesn't work.
So how do you actually cultivate high performers? Well, it takes these exact elements. Putting people first isn't charity. It's a hardcore strategy. Humanized leadership means you can be incredibly demanding about performance, but you do it with genuine respect and by creating psychological safety. You give continuous, honest feedback instead of those useless annual reviews, and you align expectations immediately. Most conflicts aren't born from incompetence. They're born from expectations that were never clarified. A humanized leader isn't soft. They are highly strategic because they know motivated people just deliver more.
I absolutely love this punchy truth right here. A leader who demands results without looking at people isn't a leader. They're a debt collector. Wow, I really challenge you to reflect on this right now. Does your team work hard for you out of deep mutual respect, or are they just operating out of fear?
All right, Section 4. The climax of our roadmap. Execução. Foco na alta entrega. Focus on high delivery.
This is where your high-minded strategy and your amazing culture meet the cold, hard reality of getting things done. So the crucial point is delivery. It is the real, uncompromising capacity to execute exactly what was promised with quality, on time, and within the agreed scope. No excuses. This is the ultimate reputation builder, and it perfectly contrasts with that toxic corporate culture of things always being almost done, but never actually shipped.
To build that delivery engine, you follow a specific progression. You start with quick wins, small victories in under 30 days that build immense trust and momentum. Then you organize into sprints, short cycles delivering functional value so you don't spend months building something the market actually hates. Finally, once you have that rhythm down, you move to scaling the operation, increasing your output without your internal processes completely collapsing.
And this brilliantly illustrates the Pareto principle applied to your execution. Focus on what moves the needle. As a leader, you must ruthlessly identify the 20% of actions that are driving 80% of your actual KPI results. Because busy does not equal productive. You've got to stop putting out minor fires and start focusing on the few things that actually change the trajectory of your business.
Because, as you focus and deliver, you are going to grow. But remember this, growing is easy. Growing without breaking, that's scalability. What works perfectly for 100 clients will absolutely break at 10,000 if you don't have documented processes and the right tech in place. True scalability is growth without chaos.
Finally, we hit Section 5, O Futuro, Dados e Adaptação, future-proofing your operation.
How do decision-makers take this high-delivery culture and future-proof it against a rapidly changing world? Well, tomorrow's leaders are fiercely data-driven. They drop the bias and they look at the analytics. They adopt an AI-first mentality where artificial intelligence isn't just some IT gimmick, but a strategic advantage across the entire company. They use AI agents and co-pilots to hyper-automate all those repetitive tasks. But most importantly, they commit to upskilling and reskilling. Technology handles the repetitive volume for sure, but continuous human learning is what actually keeps leaders relevant.
Let me reassure you, though, the future is not artificial intelligence versus humans. The future is augmented intelligence. It's humans with AI. The AI processes the massive volume, the speed, and the complex patterns. But humans, we apply the irreplaceable context, the ethical judgment, and the empathy. Those are the human skills that are only going to become more valuable.
We've covered the mindset, the strategy, the people, the execution, and the future, so I'm going to leave you with this final provocative question. Look at your culture of ownership and delivery right now, today. Is your operation truly ready for 10 times the current volume? Take this roadmap, share it with your team, and start building that ownership culture today. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you next time.